Hi everyone, this is Jovan here. Today's topic is holistic rating scale and analytical rating scale. As you probably remember, my previous video talks about testing speaking and testing writing. Both of the tests require what is called scoring rubric or scoring guideline. Now, scoring guideline is needed in order to make your assessment, in order to make your scoring reliable and less subjective. It is basically a guideline which guides you when you are scoring somebody's speech or somebody's essay. You need that kind of guideline so that your subjectivity won't influence your scoring, because subjectivity is bad for your scoring. Second, you have to use the guideline so that your scoring will be reliable. By reliable, I mean that when the score is out, people can trust your scoring. People can trust your score. People can trust your testing procedure because it has been done through the correct procedure. That is by using guideline or rubric. Yeah. Now the scoring guideline consists or is in the form of two kinds. There are two kinds of rubric or scoring guideline. One is what we call holistic scale, holistic scale, and second is called analytical scale. So we have holistic scale or holistic rubric and analytical scale. Now, holistic, of course, it presents the description, or it presents the level of scoring as a whole. It describes the whole performance of the test takers, either in speaking or in writing. It describes the whole performance. By contrast, analytical scale divides the scoring into several aspects, into several elements, several aspects that the examiner is interested in. Okay, so without further ado, in order to make this clearer, let's dive into the PowerPoint. Okay, so let's start with holistic rating scale. As you can see here, holistic rating scale looks simple. All you have on the sheet is the mark or the score. For example, 10, which is the excellent score here, down to 4 to 5, and even lower than that to 1. Yeah, so the worst score is 1, and up to 10, which is the best. Now, for each mark or for each score, you have a performance. Now, you can see here in the performance, you have an overall description or a global description or a holistic description of a test taker's performance. You can see here excellent interaction and command of language, accurate structures. This means perfect grammar, wide range of vocabulary, utterances are well extended, pronunciation is clear throughout with the right intonation and stress. So this is the overall description of a test taker who deserves the score of 10 because he or she has performed excellent performance. And this is the description of the excellent performance. Yeah, so for every mark here or for every score, there is a holistic description. There is a overall description. Yeah. This description might consist of fluency and structures for grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation. But each is described only in general terms. They are only general description. They are not broken down into the details. That will be analytical rating scale. If you divide and you describe each of the aspect in detail, in great detail, then it is no longer holistic, but it is analytical rating scale. Yeah. So again, coming back to our holistic scale, you can see here that for every score here, there is a description. And the description of performance describes overall quality of the test taker's performance. Yeah. Let's see here for 6 to 7. This is given to somebody who interacts fairly well with a sufficient degree of naturalness, has generally effective command of the language. Some pauses may occur, some inaccurate structures. In other words, the grammar is not very good. Vocabulary range is adequate, though lacking in idiomatic expression. Utterances are of a suitable length. Pronunciation is largely satisfactory. And so if somebody does this, if somebody performs this way, then you give him or her 6 or 7. Yeah, so yes, it is important how to know how to use this. So in the testing of speaking, the test taker comes up and begins speaking, and as you observe him or her speaking, you match his or her performance with the description here. And so you can give him or her the right score according to his or her performance. Yeah, so that's the way you use the holistic rubric or the holistic scale to assess or to score somebody's spoken performance. Okay. Yes, this can be applied to testing writing as well, but of course the description here is a bit different. Now, in a writing scale, you need to change this into elements or subscales or components of writing skills, like choice of words, coherence, etc. Okay, so this is the holistic rating scale. Again, holistic means overall description of somebody's performance. Yeah. Now let me share the next one. Now this one is analytical rating scale. Yeah, still for speaking, but now this is analytical rating scale. Now, as you can see here, the speaking scale has been divided into several elements, several components that make up the speaking activity. So here you have interactive communication, you have pronunciation, you have grammar and vocabulary, and you have discourse management. And so these are aspects or elements that the language tester is interested in measuring. They want to know in somebody's speech, they want to know how well the test taker performs these aspects. And so for each of the aspects, you have a range of score here from 1 to 5. From 0 to 5. 5 is the best, 0 is the worst. 0 actually represents no performance at all, yeah, or insufficient sample of spoken language. Yeah, probably because the test taker just keeps quiet, does not produce any spoken language, does not say anything, therefore he deserves 0. Okay, so for each of the aspects here, you have to assign a score. And the score is assigned based on the description of each score here. So for example, for interactive communication, you will assign a score of 3 if the test taker has this characteristic. Interaction is sustained in most of the tests by initiating and responding appropriately. Hesitation may sometimes interfere with the interaction. Yeah. And so you have all of this description under score of 3. And then you look at the pronunciation. This one deals with intonation and individual sounds. You watch him or her speak very carefully, and then you decide what score to give to him or her, yeah, based on his or her performance in terms of pronunciation. So for example, you'll give a score of 2 here. You have to tilt your head a bit in order to read this. Some features of 3 and some features of 1 in approximately equal measure. Yeah, so if there is an element of 3, but also to some extent there is also an element of 1, then you give her or him 2, the score of 2 for pronunciation. Then go on to grammar and vocabulary. Again, you observe the test taker very closely as he or she speaks, and you assign the appropriate score. For example, you give a score of 3 because you think that the test taker performs an adequate range of grammatical forms and vocabulary. Grammar is sufficiently accurate to convey intended meanings, and vocabulary is sufficiently appropriate to deal with the tasks. Yeah. And you go on to discourse management. Again, you assign the score by observing the performance very closely. For example, you decide to give a score of 1 here. Contributions lack relevance and coherence and are inadequate in developing the discourse. Yeah. Or contributions are often inappropriate length. Maybe because she or he speaks very little, although it is grammatically correct, but it's too little, it's too short. And for discourse management, you give this person 1. Yeah, so that's the way you use the analytical rating scale. You will come up with several scores, 1 for each of the aspects of the skill being tested here. Yeah, so 1 score for interactive communication, another score for pronunciation, another score for grammar and vocabulary, another score for discourse management, and then you total them. Yeah, and then there is a procedure to come to the final grade. Okay, so that's it. How you use analytical rating scale. Okay. Yeah, that's it, students. I hope I have made it clearer. Read again and listen to my video again if there is something that you have not understood well. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye for now. Bye.